For those of you who are new to us, my name is Roni Bhullar. This is my wife, Stephanie. We are foster parents in northern Haiti. We have 7 kids.
Yeah, so
I like you very much. This is good. But if I make a joke, I think I can count on you laughing today. So that's good. Excellent. Excellent. Good.
So I think we recognize most people in the room, but there are some people who we have never met. Or some people who just haven't heard what we're doing. So we work with an organization called Children of the Promise. It is a Christian organization based out of Minnesota, and we're just going to kind of walk through all of the programs that Children of the Promise does. There's a lot of kind of outpatient programs, and then a lot of programs that we do. We only work in foster care, though, foster care and adoption. But it's kind of a big organization. It's been around for 17 years now, so it's grown quite a bit. But yeah, so we're just going to kind of walk through some of that.
So our mission, I can read it right off the board here, is to provide excellent physical, spiritual, emotional, educational, and economic care for at-risk children and families in Haiti. So what is that? That is not putting 60 kids into one building and just taking care of their base needs, but this is approaching every child in a well-rounded way. So taking care of an individual in all aspects of their life.
So whenever you think of Haiti, most of you probably think Port-au-Prince. You know, the earthquake happened 7 years ago. That's what most people think of whenever they hear Haiti, but we are not close to Port-au-Prince. We're actually in the north. You can see us there on the map where the little heart is. We're about 30 minutes outside of Cap-Haïtien, which is the second largest city. So we're going to show you a little tour of the campus in case some of you are wondering what the campus looks like. You can look in the video. Our house is called the Hope House, so you can kind of be looking for that.
All right, so not just we don't just take care of orphans, and in fact, one of the reasons why we decided to go with Children of the Promise is that their main goal is to do everything that they can not to admit a child Now, what does that look like? That means if a family, a lot of times they say, well, we can't take care of our child. Why can't you take care of your child? Well, we had no money, we had no food. All right, well, it'd be easier for the child if we just give them up, put them into an orphanage. Okay, but with these two programs right here, we have the Mamba program and the formula program. Okay, Mamba, what that is fortified peanut butter. You have a child that comes in that's severely underweight. They'll provide the family with Mamba to get the child up to a healthier weight, also increasing their ability to take care of their children. The formula program is for the babies. Last year in 2016, we served 86 families, and that means 86 families means 86 kids that didn't have to be admitted into an orphanage. That's what that really translates to.
So, and just to emphasize, like the formula program, a lot of you might be wondering, well, why don't you teach breastfeeding? We do teach breastfeeding, but a lot of the kids in the formula program are either kids who are just too small. You know, we had one who came in at 2.8 pounds, you know, pretty teeny, and mom has trouble breastfeeding, or, you know, the maternity death rate is pretty high. So a lot of them just don't have a mom to breastfeed. So, yeah, that's primarily who we serve through the formula program. We also have a prenatal program. Last year we had 121 mothers. We do classes of about 30 mothers at a time, and they get prenatal vitamins. They come once a week, I believe every Thursday, and our Haitian nurses teach a class. We've got a classroom on campus, and they just come in, they get measurements, you know, they have their blood pressure taken, they get their weights checked, they get their blood sugar checked, iron levels checked, all of those things. Healthcare isn't really that great. It's not really available in the rural communities, so a lot of these moms walk quite a bit to come get enrolled in our program. A lot of them deliver their babies at home, but if there are complications, we have drivers and we have vehicles who drive them to hospitals, and a lot of the abandonments happen at hospitals when babies are born just because the mothers can't afford a medical bill, and the baby can't be released until the medical bill is paid, so the moms just flee. That's actually how we got 2 of the kids in our house. So a lot of this is just doing the work up front and making relationships with the moms. If they do have to deliver at the hospital, we find, you know, sponsors back home, or we find it in our budget and we take care of their hospital bills if there are complications. So again, just trying to keep babies out and trying to keep people educated.
School sponsorship. So yeah, I mentioned we're approaching people with a well-rounded set of care. So we find that if you can educate folks, they're going to be better off down the road, right? Education's power. So we have a school sponsorship here at the Lagos Set School. You've seen it on the video. Anybody that's involved with the sponsorship program does go to school for free, so that their parents aren't breaking their back trying to figure out how to send the kids to school.
And then we have the Rehab Care. Last year we had 12 children come in for Rehab Care. So Rehab Care is not foster care. Ronnie and I have not directly taken care of these kids. We've seen these kids, but they live up front of the campus, and they're taken care of by Haitian nannies. So kids who come in, you can see this little baby there. He came in, I think he was 10 weeks old when he came in that top picture. You know, skin was pretty loose, just very malnourished. You know, just wasn't getting the nutrition he needed, but he was too sick to be able to do just the formula program that's outpatient. So he needed a little bit more care. So he came in, he was staying with our Haitian nurses round the clock. You know, I think he was being fed every 90 minutes for a good while when he came in. But once he was deemed healthy again, he went back with his family, and then COTP does follow up. They come for rendezvous. They're usually enrolled in the formula program after that, and then they come once a week or once a month and, you know, pick up their formula, get weighed, things like that. We have Haitian social workers who go and check on them, but in a typical orphanage, he probably would have been admitted and adopted out or in the orphanage until he's 18. So it's really cool when kids get reunited with their family. And this next slide shows a couple more examples. The bottom left, that's one of our kids, Peterly. He was very malnourished when he came in, but he had some feeding complications. He actually had a surgery. He had a permanent G-tube put in Port-au-Prince, which is pretty cool. So he's living back with his mom. He is going to like a respite care center. He's special needs, so he's going to a respite care center. We partnered with Health Hope Action, which is a hospital like 20 minutes down the road. And so it's kind of like a daycare center. Like he goes there a few days a week to give his mom a break. Then he goes back with his mom, but he still comes out to COTP very frequently. And then that upper right picture is Chris Mania. She was the very tiny baby, 2.8 pounds. She was sleeping in a little lunchbox whenever we first saw her. Teeny tiny, probably the tiniest baby I've seen outside of the NICU. But yeah, she comes out pretty frequently, I think bi-weekly right now. She's doing great.
Foster care, that's what we do now. So in this picture you see all of our 7 kids. My goodness, I miss them a lot. So right now it says the 54 children right now in foster care, 46.
Currently we've got 46.
46 right now.
8 of them got adopted in the last year.
Yeah. After a long drought of kids not being adopted out, finally the system's moving a little faster, so it's good.
Yeah, so foster care, like those are the kids, like we try rehab care with every situation, but a lot of times either, like I said, the kids are abandoned at the hospital at birth. There's no track of family. Like there's no possible way to track them down. The mom a lot of times just comes in, delivers the baby, leaves. There's no paper trail. Sometimes they put multiple cities for addresses. It's pretty hard to track families down, but they do have like a 6-month period where they could go back to the hospital and say, what happened to my baby? Could you tell me where they're at? And then sometimes within that 6-month period, they are reunited, which is cool, but usually it doesn't work out like that. But usually it's like severe cases. We kind of shared some of those stories the last time we were here. But yeah, usually it's like a last case scenario that we use foster care. And then all of the kids in foster care are up for adoption or in the process of being adopted.
So this is Children of Promise. Right now, what we didn't mention as well is we are also the foster care managers. So we are over, means we're over other house parents that are on the ground now, and also over the care of a lot of those kids. Right now, we live and work in the Hope House, but you can see the Grace House. We are also managing directly that home as well. So yeah, we have 7 in our home, but an additional 5 that we're also directly over their care as well in the Grace House.
And there's seven homes in all. So Ronnie kind of said, like, COTP had, I think, like, a little over 70 kids at one time, just in one building, like the typical big orphanage, like, institution that most of you probably picture when you hear the word orphanage. So now each home is kind of, like we built all of these homes to kind of take place of that big orphanage setting.
And in the house, you have between 6 and 9 kids instead of, 50 or something like that. So what are we teaching? What are we doing there? We're teaching relationship, how to develop healthy relationships, the give and take of relationship. Also attachment, healthy attachment. Yeah, you're going to develop bonds with these kids, but we feel that it's better to have developed those relationships, break the relationship so that they're better off during the transition of adoption when that time comes.
So yeah, we can briefly talk about the structure of each child home. Each child home has a single house parent or a married couple set of house parents. There are 7 of them, 6 to 8 children in each home. Our home has 7. And we moved our 7 in slowly. Whenever we were here a year ago, we had just moved in our 6th little guy, the little newborn Theo. So he's doing really well now. And then after we went back a few weeks later, last year, we moved in Silas, our 7th kid. So 6 boys, 1 girl. It's pretty busy. Our oldest just turned 5. Our youngest is 15 months old. So very busy. And we didn't talk a lot about our nannies last year, but a year later, we've developed a much deeper relationship with our nannies. This is the first nanny who started working for us whenever we had only one baby, Michael, when he was 6 weeks old. She started with us right away, just kind of forming a bond and kind of cleaning for us and teaching us Creole, that sort of thing. But this is pretty cool. Like, Julian was a part of the first day of school. That's Fonnelson on the left, that's Anderlin on the right. They go to a Christian English-speaking preschool, which is pretty awesome, about 30 minutes down the road. But yeah, our nannies are just as much a part of their lives as we are. They're there 6 days a week from 8 to 4. But yeah, so this is Julian. We want to show you a little video. Each one of our nannies who works at COTP, we have 5 in our house. Most houses have 4 or 5. But each nanny has their own story that's pretty impactful. And they encourage us every day. And whenever we think we're having a crappy day, a lot of times, like, they'll sit and they'll talk to me. And usually my problem is something really little, like, you know, Ronnie drank the rest of the coffee that I wanted to drink, and then I slammed my door too hard, and they're like, why are you slamming doors? And then I sit down and hear their stories. But we're going to show you Tante Joe's story. Tante Joe, Tante is the Creole word for aunt, but Aunt Jocelyn, she works in the house right next to us. We've known her for 4 years. So COTP did a little video just kind of about her connection with COTP, and you can kind of see where each of our nannies comes from.
Moi, je suis Madame Jocelyn Dorsius. En Haïti, moi, j'étais un petit bouc pomago. En Haïti, il y a un petit gens très difficile. C'est chaque jour, moi, lever, moi, toujours prier pour payer nous. Non, il n'est pas facile en Haïti, non, pour tout le monde travaille. Il y a plus de monde qui pas travail, parce pour le monde qui travaille. Et moi, j'ai commencé à travailler dans COTP en 2008. En 2008, pour arriver en 2014, il fait 6 ans. Avant, moi, j'étais venu travailler dans COTP, moi, je dis ça, moi, pas de travail. C'était plus difficile pour moi. À tout le monde, pour voir l'école, pour manger, pour rad, pour tout le bagage. C'était plus difficile. Moi, mes pays, moi toujours prié bon Dieu pour bon Dieu capable de changer la situation pour nous. Et si mon nom, lui-même des fois, bon Dieu fait l'homme, bon Dieu mettait intelligence dans l'homme. Depuis bon Dieu ba ou santé, l'homme est capable de vivre. Ou même ou ka créer ça pour faire pour vivre avec famille. Au lieu de créer ça pour lui vivre, pour bon Dieu aider lui plus, lui plutôt rester, lui plaindre, la pas bien, la vie meilleure pour au lieu ou plus meilleur, moi quoi c'est plus mal ou plus mal. Je comprends, sortir comme un gars ici, je comprends, 1 an et demi, 2 ans, cela. C'est dans toute zone, le travail n'est pas facile. Moi-même, pour travailler ici, c'est un miracle. Je dis comment faire sortir juste pourquoi je joue un travail ici. Moi, c'est un miracle, mon Dieu, parce que moi, j'ai fait un peu de temps, moi, pas fait rien. Moi, j'ai 5 petits monde pour manger, pour l'école. Et actuellement, tout, Marie, moi, j'ai 4 ans, tout, il n'a pas de travail. Eh bien, bon Dieu lui-même, il fait affaire les gens, il voulait. Il fait me joindre travail ici, dans COTP. quand même, les membres de COTP, franchement, moi, j'ai senti mon petit gens plus bien, parce que, ou plus bien, ou joignent toute bagaille là, ou observer, vous comprenez? Bonjour, d'accord. Et là, je venu, moi, rencontrer avec Timoun, moi, content. C'est comme si Timoun, quand il a joué, c'était petit, moi, c'était dans un travail, moi, tout était sorti. Je dis, bon Dieu, merci en premier. Et moi, je dis, COTP, tout le monde qui a travaillé dans COTP, merci. Et moi, content. Merci.
Uh-oh. So we mentioned, I just want to say that we've entered into a lot deeper relationship with the staff that we work with there. And, early on when we started there, it was like, why is this person showing up to work late? Why can't they just be on time? We all just saw that commute. That's their commute, okay? And once you understand what a person's commute is and you understand what their life is, you give them a lot more grace when they show up, 30 minutes late, and you say, well, I'm so glad you just showed up alive today. So that's what's changed for me in the last year and a half. Question? She'll come in for 4 days. For 4 days, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very likely that 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours, is probably a 30-mile distance, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from here to Johnstown, basically, right? Yeah.
I'd say maybe $5 for the whole trip.
Yeah.
It depends on, so the moto rides, those are a lot more costly. Like whenever I take a moto taxi to town, it's about $2 for one person for me to go for a 30-minute trip to downtown. But then the tap-taps are really cheap. Like whenever Ronnie and I go to the beach, we can sit in the back. The tap-tap is that, like the pickup truck that's really crowded. So it costs us 35 cents for a 30-minute ride. So it just depends on how much is moto and how much is tap-tap. Like moto, it's kind of like here. If you have your own private taxi, it's a lot more expensive. But if you ride share or ride the bus, with a lot of people where it's more crowded, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So we put the word hope up here. We live in the Hope House. And you would think that every day we would be thinking like, wow, we see so much hope in Haiti, and our kids that they bring us so much hope. I wish we could tell you that was the case. But kind of, we want to walk through some of the big picture things that we experienced last year. And a lot of times we find ourselves feeling very hopeless whenever we think about those.
So, yeah, there's a crisis, an orphan crisis in Haiti. Did you know that? Because now you know that now. When you approach it and you come into Haiti and it's like, well, how am I going to change all this? Well, usually one person becomes very overwhelmed. Okay, you've seen it maybe in your own lives. You think about, maybe a heroin crisis or the, crime crisis or domestic violence. Like, how do you fix it all? Well, we're not supposed to be fixing it all. When you take the big picture, the overwhelming big picture, because it's too big for us, and you focus on the people that are right in front of you, we focus on our kids, this is where we derive hope. This is where you see the fruit of your labor. Not every day, with all the diapers and the snot and everything, but yeah, you see Fonnelson and there, and it's just, that's hope for me.
Yeah, and some of our kids, like I picked that top left picture because they're two of our oldest kids. One is 6, one is 4. They're both in school, they're in different classes, but they both go to school, one in each of our houses that we manage. But, One of the little guys in that picture, he's been in the adoption process for going on 4 years now. When they enter social services in Haiti, it's supposed to take 12 to 18 months if things are going smoothly. He's going on 38 months. So even small, like, we can lose a little bit of hope, but we kind of celebrate every little step that they're making. But it's tough sometimes to do that. Another one of the big crises that you might not hear about too much in the news here is the hospital strike. So the hospital strike in the public hospitals has been going on pretty much since we've been in Haiti. The doctors were being severely underpaid, and so they went on strike for good reason. I don't blame them. They were being paid next to nothing. And then they kind of got their pay worked out with the government. And then all the support staff went on strike right after the hospitals reopened. So that's like janitors, secretaries, scheduling appointments, all of those things. So, the hospital can't function with just doctors and nurses. So this is what a lot of the hospitals look like. You can see there's one patient in that empty room. On a good day, you might just walk in and get the grace of a good doctor or a good nurse, and you're lucky that day and you get treated. A lot of people die on the steps of the hospital. We have been directly impacted by that. One night we got a phone call from Justinian Hospital. It's one of the public hospitals in Cap-Haïtien, and a lot of our babies come from there. It's called, like, a lot of people have nicknamed it the place where babies go to die. So, like, when a baby's really sick, push the crib against the wall, and the baby faces the wall and dies. So a lot of our kids come from there. But we got one little girl from there. She's estimated to be 4 years old. But we had to face the decision of, like, we don't have room for her. We don't have a spot for her. And so it's kind of pushing us over the edge as an organization. And you don't want to do that, because if you take in one, then you take in two, then it turns into 10, and then you're not doing things well again. And then you're back to an institution. But in this case, literally, we went to visit her for 2 days. She was in the hospital like that man, laying in a bed, no nurses, no doctors, alone. So during the day, she got checked on here and there, but at night, she's just left in a crib. So yeah, it's pretty crappy. We can show you this picture is what a lot of the private hospitals look like. So private hospitals, you don't receive any treatment unless you pay up front. So that includes everything like blood. You have to buy your own blood. So to give you that perspective, our nannies make about $10 American a day. 2 units of blood required for a transfusion is about 30 American dollars, so 3 days' wages. So it's, again, a lot of people do not make it. They're not treated because they don't have money to pay up front. If they do have money and they get to the hospital, we heard about, personally, one of our friends who's a doctor, they brought a full-term mother in labor to the hospital. She would require a C-section. The baby, couldn't be born vaginally, but they turned her away. They just didn't have beds. So the hospitals look like that. I myself have been sick in Haiti. I've gone 3 times now to the hospitals that look like that. I sit and wait just like the Haitians. About 3 weeks ago, I still had chikungunya, a mosquito-borne illness, and I finally went to the doctor to get some blood work done. It took 7 hours of sitting in crowds like that, literally shoulder to shoulder, just to see the first doctor. So whenever you guys are complaining about Somerset Hospital or Conemaugh Hospital, please try to think of this whenever you're there. So again, it's easy when you're thinking of big picture to feel very hopeless, like this situation is never going to change. But you've got to bring it back in. Look at the people right in front of you. That picture is me sleeping in the hospital. I think we talked about this the last time we were home. It happened right before we came home a year ago. That's me with our little guy, Fonelson. He had an operation. We met Theo, one of our babies, that night in the hospital. I think they had 29 peds patients and 4 nurses. The hospital strike was still just as bad as it is now. That was one of the private hospitals, one of the best ones. Fonelson didn't have a bed until about 10 p.m. Sheets in his bed. That's at a private hospital. So, yeah, while we were there, another one of our nanny's little boys was there. He had meningitis. He didn't make it. So there were like 4 who passed away that night. Just, they don't have the resources to treat everybody. And also while we were there, the 4th kid we knew is that top left picture. That is Weddens. If you remember Julian in the picture of the boys in their school uniforms, our nanny, Julian, this is her littlest biological son. And he had an emergency surgery. He had an obstructed bowel, and he had to have an appendectomy the same day. So, yeah, it didn't look very good. It was very touch and go. That was, we got that first surgery done. We were there. We were able to get some financial support for that. But then, whenever we got back to Haiti last March, he had a second emergency surgery. And this time, the blood banks didn't have blood. I went to the hospital just to say hey, and I think we took like a Canadian person on a little tour of the hospital. But we saw Weddens there again with Julian, and there was bile all in his bed. It didn't look good. It looked like the last time. It was an emergency situation, but the blood bank didn't have blood. So they're like, well, he can either lay here and hope that his dad can go to town and buy blood again, shop around for his blood type. Or if you're O positive, you could give blood. So I hadn't eaten breakfast that morning. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I hadn't had a drink of water. So the plan was for Ronnie to give 1 unit and for me to give 1 unit. And Ronnie's blood pressure was too low. So I ended up giving both units. That's me in that picture. The only time I gave blood in Haiti, I did not pass out. Everything was okay. And then this bottom picture is Julian and her husband and 3 of their 5 kids. But that's Weddens in Julian's lap. So he's doing well. We see him all the time. Ronnie sees him almost every day when he goes running. But yeah, when you think big picture, you're like, holy cow, everybody's dying. Nothing's ever going to work out. But again, if you scale it down, help the people right in front of you, you begin to see a little bit of hope.
It's very important to acknowledge these small victories that you have every day. Say that. Wow. Yeah, the flood, if you didn't hear, in November we had a historic flood. I think it literally rained for 40 days and 40 nights, so, I think Noah would have been proud. No, not really. This was rough. This was rough. It was a Thursday night. Clara, my mother-in-law, was visiting at the time, bless her heart, and we were at the Picolet restaurant. And when we walked into the Picolet, the streets were dry. Okay, it might rain a little bit. Within 2 hours, the flash flooding was so bad, we didn't realize that when we tried to travel back on those roads, the water was coming inside our vehicle. So as Steph is looking out at other people in the waters up to here, we're talking about people that can't swim. It's not a good situation. I hit a curb, and other than that, I don't remember. I just remembered, turn around, get back to the Picolet Hotel. So we were stranded at the nicest hotel, poor us, for the flood for 1 night. But yeah, that's when it started, and it didn't let up for a month.
Yeah, the left picture is basically what the roads looked like for a month. Like, it would stop raining for a little bit during the day, and the sun would kind of poke out. You're like, oh, good, it's drying up. But, it looked like that for well over a month. There was water on the roads like that. It was gross. And then that bottom right picture is in one of the neighborhoods I go to quite a bit to visit one of my friends. That's a collapsed house. Right in the very next community, there were 4 houses that collapsed. There were a bunch of deaths. There was a bunch of electrocution in neck-deep water that night. All of that happened that night whenever we were stranded in town. But, yeah, it was pretty bad. These pictures are taken in that same neighborhood. The left picture is at the top of the steps, if you want to call them steps. The right picture shows the steps that were logs. There was one day, maybe about a week or so into the flood, where we had people staying with us because they were in this neighborhood, and there were mudslides happening, and their house was on the edge of the mountainside. So one of our nannies brought all of her family. They spent the first couple of nights on their beds because the water was too deep and the canal was flowing too deep. It was carrying people away. They can't swim. So somehow they made it to our house. And then I paid a tap-tap driver about $30. Those 35-cent rides? I paid about $35 because the water was so bad. And Ronnie stayed home with the kids. I went out.
I said, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah.
You got go in those floodwaters.
Yeah.
Call me when
I
you get
went out
there.
and looked at some of the houses, but this looks a lot better. This was about a month and a half later. But like those logs were placed, those days, and climbing up to see the houses in the neighborhood. Like the damage is significant. Like I remember walking through and thinking like, this does not even feel real. Like I've seen a lot of things in Haiti. I've been going since 2008. I've been to a lot of places, but I've never seen anything like this. Just like the widespread damage, and just looking at everybody and thinking, wow, everybody lost everything. Like there's not anybody who's sleeping on a dry surface tonight. But so that was very, very overwhelming. This is a picture of the intersection right before we get to the paved road. When I went through on a moto, the water was hitting here, like on a dirt bike. It was hitting my thigh. So it was like that for a while. Ronnie was driving our kids to school, a month in, and having to turn around because, the canal flooded again. So this is what it looked like. Like normally it's completely dry. There's not really a lake there. That's actually the road.
Again, big, wow, overwhelming issues. I don't know if I can handle this, but what do? We focus on the people right in front of us, right? So this gentleman, his name is Twopik, and we were guided just to meet with him and help him out because during 30 days of rain, Twopik's roof just it drained like a sieve, and you'll see in this picture here. So that doesn't look like it can stop rain, does it? No, thank you very much. All right,
and
good.
he lives right outside of the gate, like in that video where you see Lago set and then you see that nice blue gate, which is all of us in our nice pretty houses. Twopik is literally like, I don't know how many houses, like 2 houses out.
0.4 miles
houses.
away. Trust me, I'm a runner, I know. 0.4 miles away. Yeah. This is his bed. This is his ceiling. I walk into the house. You want to talk about a guilt trip when you walk into a place like that. And you're like, oh, man, wow, you have a nice shirt. And you just really try to make the best out of a rough situation. But with a little bit of talk and a little bit of planning, we were able to provide Twopik with a brand new roof. I mean, look at that roof. That's a beautiful roof right there, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you. And even a new window right there as well. So small changes. We didn't give him a brand new house, folks. Right? We gave him a brand new roof. You try to focus on what people need. It'd be nice to have a new house, but we were able to give him a new roof. So I thought that was something that gave us hope.
Yeah. So I think we worked with like 4 or 5 houses. Like people sent down some money so that we could do some things separately. People sent money through COTP so that we could do things. There's a lot of aid coming in, but it's been really, really cool to see like little steps. I mean, it's been since November. We just finished Twopik's house. Like literally the day we got on an airplane, Ronnie took the last payment over. We're building them a latrine. There's a few houses back there that live together. They're just using the field for their bathroom. We were able to kind of put them a step ahead, which is pretty cool. So little glimmers of hope.
So how can you help? Am I taking this or are you taking this?
Go for it.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So how can you help? It seems it's kind of like this tagline. Well, just pray for us. No, really. Hey, Vicki. No, really, pray for us. And don't be afraid to tell us, hey, we are praying for you. And don't be afraid to FaceTime with us and pray with us as well. We hear about it in church a lot, that, there's power in prayer. Okay, there's power in prayer. You're going to grow up your whole life. There's power in prayer. There is power in prayer, okay? There's a lot of hope that is derived from prayer, especially when you're praying together, okay? Pray for us.
Encouragement. I would say probably the month of the flood was the loneliest we felt. We were reined in for over a month. I got out maybe 3 times. Ronnie got out running a few times in knee-deep water. But
you just got to get your 17-miler training running. You have to. You have to.
Pretty lonely in Haiti. We love it whenever we get to FaceTime with people. Like, we really love it when we get to FaceTime with this church congregation. And we put a picture from Christmas. A lot of you guys sent Christmas presents and shop for specifically. And Caitlin, shout out to you. You're the first person who bought me like my own box, which was awesome. Like, you don't know, like I'm pretty sure Ronnie cried whenever he got his box. But it was cool that like somebody was specifically shopping for each person in our house and like, you know, asked for a list for each person in our house. And you have no idea how encouraging that is whenever we get a package like that and a surprise like that.
We have Smarties for the rest of our lives.
We do. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been good for potty training. Really
Great.
good.
Behavior, yeah.
But and also we wanted to say like we're entering a new season of our work. Not just the management stuff, but like last year we were just settling our kids in. You know, we were just moving them in and kind of getting to know them and learning how to live, learning the language. But now they're all really, really close, like one paper away from meeting their adoptive families. So we have 14 weeks of socialization visits coming up really soon, like potentially the week we get back, they're going to start. So, you know, that's tiring. It's mentally taxing. You know, it's seeing like our kids are really like getting closer to going home. We're getting closer to saying goodbye. So it's just a brand new season. We need a lot of encouragement to get through that.
Sponsorship, financial support. We can't do what we can do, unfortunately, without money. Yeah, we ask you to give joyfully and generously, but more so on the joyfully. I don't feel obligated, but if you feel called to give, please do.
And child sponsorship is one of the coolest ways, I think. Like, you can really get to know one of the kids, kind of like the Christmas thing. Like, I thought that was cool that, you know, families or individuals shop specifically for one kid. And it's really cool for our kids when they get to, like, FaceTime with their sponsors and they know, like, oh, this is the person who, you know, helps you get to go to school and things like that. But, yeah, you get once a month you either get a formal picture of your kid or an update. If they're in our house, we write the update. But, you know, you get a lot more personal information about your child, which is pretty cool.
Y'all can come down and visit us in Haiti, too, if you want. You know, it's, I can't say that. I mean, they get to give you pretzels, maybe peanuts on American Airlines. That's all I can really tell you, unless you fly first class. That's a whole other thing. But, yeah, visit us. Come on down. And you don't have to necessarily come down with, you don't have to be a doctor, okay? You don't have to be a contractor, okay? You can be a person. I think everyone's a person in here. And forming relationships and connections and also coming down and encouraging us and our kids is very much needed.
And then probably the biggest one to us is find a way to help in your community. A lot of people tell us, like, wow, you know, you two are really extraordinary people doing, you know, something crazy that I can't even think of. Well, that's not true. We're not. Like, you know, we're doing foster care. It just happens to be in Haiti. But there's foster care in the United States. Or if you don't feel called to do foster care, like, you know, find some way to help somebody right in front of you. Like, you have no idea how encouraging that is to us. You know, you don't have to think big and move to a different country. Just find a way to help somebody.
Yep. So, yeah, very good. So Bill Riggs asked us to put in a plug here for the CPBT Preachers Training School. It's located in the northern Haiti Cap-Haitian area. You have numbers, right? You have numbers on who they've graduated. Would you mind sharing those real quick?
Yeah, the CBT started in 1997, and they have a 3-year program, and they're starting on their 7th class of preachers. So they've graduated 60 preachers, and they have churches all over Haiti. They're started on group number 7. But as far as for spreading the gospel, they're working actively at spreading the gospel. And I'll give this back to us now.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, so we put our contact information up there. Hopefully I'll be better about keeping my blog up to date this year. But there's our email address. There's the Children of the Promise website. I'm not sure, Jimmy, how are we on time? Because I'm pretty sure we went over.
We're on Haitian time, folks. Sorry.
We might have time for like a couple of questions, and then if you have a question and we don't get to you, you can come find us after church. So does anybody have any questions?
Typically, they're going to head to the United States. We can all national in-country adoptions are also possible too.
Yes, you can reach out to us and we can tell you the kids' names in our house. Like we can send you the link that has all the kids' pictures. You can pick a picture, you can pick a kid that just looks cute to you, whatever you want to do. But if you want one in our house, like we can give you the names. And then there's a direct link. You just sign up online. You don't have to go through us. You just do it all online. Awesome.
Question there, young sir. Okay, so yeah, when they we call it being let's see, aging out of an orphanage happens at 18. Okay, an orphanage can no longer keep the child there. It's against the law. So for some friends of ours down there, Hunter and Jillian Kittrell, they've developed an organization called the Emmaus House. The Emmaus House takes in folks that have adopted out after age 18, and they put them into school. They get them into trade school. They get them ready for that transition of living life alone. And yeah, so I actually do group therapy with their kids there. So young men, I should say.
Some of the kids who are older, I think the oldest is age 10. He is being adopted, and then after him, I think it's age 8. Which, when you think about the oldest in our house is 5, that seems pretty old. So those are mostly our children with disabilities. And we have had them since they were babies, and now they're 7 years old, 8 years old, and they aren't matched for adoption. So we're still fighting to find them families, but we're also realizing we only have a few years to come up with a better plan. So we're looking at partnering with hospitals, doing kind of that respite care center that you saw Peter Lee goes and does, and maybe doing some in-country foster care. There's a Baptist foundation right down the road, and they've been pretty successful with placing kids in foster care. And then they can keep them after they're 18, which is pretty cool. So kind of like adoption, but still just foster care.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah, real good question. 10 points right there. There you go.
All right, well, I think we're about out of time, so thank you for your attention. Again, if you have questions, you can come find us after church. But thank you, everyone.